I'd like to show you how to read the Vernier Caliper. I'll show you the basics here on this first slide, but then later on there'll be some problems and you can pause this movie and try to figure out what how to read the Vernier Caliper on your own before you press continue. On this Vernier Caliper you have some external jaws, and you would slide these jaws around something, like if you had some object here, and you would clamp the jaws onto it to see how long it is. These are the external jaws here. These up here are the internal jaws, so I could actually have like I could have a test tube or something, and I could put these inside and then spread it out so that I could measure the inner diameter of like a test tube or a beaker or something like that. So if I want to measure the inside diameter of something, I would use these up here. The outside diameter or something, I'd use these external jaws down here. Now the place that we measure the length is never going to be right along this jaw. A lot of people mess up and they think that we're measuring here. We're clamping it around it over here, but where we're going to measure is always this window here. Now on the top part of the scale, a lot of times you'll see, like the English version, you'll see that these are in inches. But on the bottom part is the one we're usually using in science, the metric scale. And so we see that these, like from the 6 to the 7 right here, that would be 1 centimeter. So that's 6 centimeters, and this is 7 centimeters, and so on. So this is a centimeter scale down here. Sometimes you'll see them like 5, 6, 7, but sometimes you might see it as like 50 and 60 and 70. That's still, that would be, instead of 5 centimeters, you'd say 50 millimeters. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. But sometimes you might see 5, 6, 7. Sometimes you might see 50, 60, 70. You just got to remember that your units are millimeters or centimeters. The most important point of this whole Vernier Caliper is this line right there. That's your zero line, and that's your pointer line. That's going to decide where we're going to be measuring something. So we're going to always use that line to decide what the length of something is going to be. We're always going to be looking at that point right there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead here and go to the next page and see if we can try to figure out how to use this to measure the length of something. So we're going to zoom in here on a window, and you'll see that there's a 3 right there, and there's a 4 right there. Those are centimeters. So 3 to 4 is 1 centimeter here. Or this could be 30 and 40, and those could be millimeters if you wanted. And maybe we could do that. We'll just say that's 30 millimeters, and there's 40 millimeters. 40 millimeters is this line right here. Okay, so down here we have our scale on our window here from 0 to 10. And remember, this line right here is the pointer line. This is the line that's going to tell us where we're supposed to be measuring. So if you look on here, we have 30, and this line right here would clearly be 35 millimeters. So we're going to have at least 34 millimeters, right? This line right here would be 34 millimeters. So we could write that down right away. We could write down 34 millimeters. And then we're going to put a decimal, and we're going to figure out how far in between the 34 millimeter line and the 35 millimeter line is our pointer right here. And that's the tricky part with Vernier calipers. What we do is we look at all these lines from 0 to 10, from here to here. We look at all these lines here, and we try to pick a line that lines up vertically with the line on our scale. So we look at each one of these. The 0 line is the first one we look at, and it's clearly not lined up with a line. Here's the 0.1 line, the 0.2 line, the 0.3, the 0.4, the 0.5, and you'll notice it's getting closer and closer. 0.6 is pretty close, and then there's the 0.7. You'll notice that it's lined up vertically all the way with the line above it. So that means the 7th line over, this line right here, line 7, is the one that's lined up, and that's what we're going to use for our 10th place digit. So it's going to be 34.7 millimeters. Another way I could write that would be 3.47 centimeters. So vernier calipers, very important, you might want to write this down. Vernier calipers measure out to the tenths place of a millimeter, or another way of saying that is to the hundredths place of a centimeter. That's still the exact same place, so because we have a different label. So the tenths place of a millimeter, or to the hundredths place of a centimeter. So this measurement here, and the jaws would be somewhere over there somewhere. It's going to be 34.7 millimeters long, or we could say 3.47 centimeters long. You'll see down here it says the seventh line of the sliding scale lines up with the main scale. So we use these 0 through 10 right down here to figure out what is our final digit. That's what we do. Okay, so I'm going to run through a series of vernier calipers, and every time I show you one, I want you to pause the movie, try to figure out what the length is, and then resume the movie and see if you're right. So, here we go. Okay, so on this one, looks a little different. You'll see that this is 0 to 10. That's still 1 centimeter. That we have it written in millimeters here, so it's 10 millimeters. Here's our scale, our 0 to 10 scale down here. It looks a little different than what we did earlier. Okay, and the key is here, and this is going to be on the test, so this is what people get tricked on the test. Where is our measuring line? Our measuring line, the one we're looking at, is always the 0 line. It is not this inner claw right here. It's not that. It's the 0 line. That's what we're looking for. So if I want to look at this, that pointer line is pointing in between the 11th and the 12th centimeter line. So I know I am at least 11 millimeters. Point. Now how far is it in between? Now we look at the 0 through 10 scale here, and I look at 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking for something that's lined up. Ooh, that's close. There it is. The 6th line is lined up, so it's going to be 11.6 millimeters, or 1.16 centimeters. Hopefully you got that right. Let's try another one. Okay, so on this one, here's our 0 line, pointer line, and you'll see it's in between the 1 millimeter and the 2 millimeter. So it's going to be 1 millimeter, at least 1 point, and I got to figure out how far in between. So there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That line looks like it's lined up really well. So 1.5 millimeters. 1.5 millimeters. Or you could have written down as a correct answer 0.15 centimeters. You'll notice that it's not even a full centimeter. A full centimeter would be all the way from there. It's just right to here. So we have a 0.15 centimeters. Okay, and the final one. Here's our line right there. And so you'll notice that that's pointing to, normally we're trying to figure out where it's pointing between, but it looks like it's pointing right on the 15 millimeter line, 15. So, can I just write down 15? No, the vernier caliper measures to the tenths place of a millimeter. So you better put a decimal and you better put a digit for your tenths place. Now, it just so happens that which one of these lines, 0 to 10, lines up the best? Well, starting with a 0, it's the 0. The 0 lines up really well. So it's 15.0 millimeters. Hopefully you didn't get tricked on that one. You notice the 10 line lines up also, but we start with a 0, so that's the first line that you see that's lined up. So it'd be 15.0 millimeters, or 1.50 centimeters. So that's how you use the vernier caliper. Hopefully that makes sense, and you can try this movie again and pause it and see if you can figure out the different lengths.